cool. So why don't we start by you telling us, about your company.
Sure.
And the work you do, and what's Worldview? I've had the fortune to be able to read your website, but our listeners wouldn't have.
Well, I really appreciate the question. So the company is Worldview Intelligence. It's a small 2-person consulting company. I'm here in Halifax, and my partner is in Minnesota. Okay. And we've been developing this body of work for about 15 years. And it partly originated through his PhD dissertation, where he was looking at worldviews, and he was specifically looking at whether or not there's this self-organized network called the Art of Hosting Conversations That Matter. We're both part of that. That's how we met. And he was wondering, does the Art of Hosting have like a singular worldview? And as soon as we started working together, he started to bring this notion of, we all have a worldview. Worldviews are the lenses through which we see and experience the world. They're different for each of us. They influence how we act in the world, and then how we act in the world gives us information about our worldviews. He started introducing that in the trainings that we were doing, both open enrollment and in our client work. And people were immediately attracted to the idea that if we understood that we each see and experience the world differently, that it might change the nature of our conversations. And so we invite people to bring curiosity to that. And it opened exploratory conversations like we hadn't seen before. Even when we said to people, what is your worldview and how do you know? And most people were like, I have no idea. Deer in the headlights, no idea at all. So we proceeded for a couple of years asking that very, very big question as we developed training and other models around it. And one day we said to ourselves, there must be an easier way into this conversation. And that took us to his research for his dissertation, where he had come across a framework that had 6 dimensions in it. So it's the Worldview Intelligence 6 dimensions framework. And it's really simple to understand. It's coherent, and most people haven't organized their thinking in that way. So it's reality, which is what are our day-to-day experiences, history, what are all the things that have influenced how we see and experience the world, future, how do we interact with the future or think about the future. And just as a side note, if we have people who are in poverty or who are dealing with daily experiences that have a profound impact on how they show up in the world, their sense of the future might be tomorrow. Versus someone who's quite well-to-do, where their sense of the future might be 20 years down the road. So those 3. Then we have values, which is pretty self-explanatory. Practices, which is how do we bring all of our worldview to life. And I think about them as being intentional and habitual. And then there's knowledge, which is what are the sources of knowledge that we trust. Knowledge, if we look at media sources, will influence and shape our worldview. And sometimes we know we have some very different realities depending on what sources of media we rely on. Mm-hmm. And the other one around knowledge is how do I know what I know? And how do I know that each of my answers to the other dimensions, how do I know that that's true? Right. So, and one other thing, because I could talk about worldviews for days, but the only other thing that I'll say is that our worldviews are closely related to our sense of identity. And the psychological research tells us that when our identity is threatened or challenged, we respond as if our very life has been challenged. Right. And so the more our worldviews are reinforced, the more we believe that our worldviews are the right worldview or the right way to see and experience the world. And yet when our worldviews are challenged, that's the perfect opportunity to be curious about what else is going on there. And maybe we talk about expanding our worldviews. So how do we expand our worldview?